Stick around and find out.
All right.
So, we're going to finalize our show tonight. We appreciate everybody for being here. We missed Ambroso, but I've still got David Vann and David Oldham with Sooner Politics, Constitutional Grounds, and I'm Tom McKay, your incredibly relevant host. We're going to finish it off with this other portion of the show from Muskogee, right?
We had a great event happen in Muskogee, and just a little background. I actually am certified to train law enforcement on mental health intervention stuff. Okay. So I've had some experience. In fact, I actually did training down at the Muskogee Police Department a little while back.
Nice.
And yes, sheriff's departments and different counties were there and everything. So I kind of have a sense of how these trainings go. And law enforcement officers, to keep their CLEAT certification individually, they have to have ongoing training.
Right.
And a new dispensary, marijuana dispensary, that's opening up this week over there, decided to do something in partnership with the Muskogee Police Department and then the Muskogee County Sheriff's Department. They said, hey, let's set up a road course so we can train your officers to better understand what makes somebody impaired when consuming medical marijuana. And so they did this. They went out to the Muskogee Regional Airport, set up the cones, had plenty of space there, and they decided to test 3 classes of people. Those who were texting while driving to certain content, and then those who were consuming liquor, and then those who were consuming marijuana. And so they had some volunteers in each of these. Hey, you want to come get drunk? Or hey, you want to come get stoned? Hey, you want to come and see how good at texting you are? And, there's 2 different outcomes that were really intriguing here. In fact, I talked to some of the people. They're probably going to take this show on the road and go do a number of places.
What do they do? How do they make it work?
Okay, so there was a set.
Have you ever seen WKRP in Cincinnati?
That was a good one.
Yeah, so, oh yeah,
yeah.
It gets faster on the
hitting the button, right. Yeah, your reaction instincts. Well, anyway, the interesting thing was the biggest failure were those who were texting, driving. It was worse than liquor.
So they're getting cops to text and drive?
I don't know who was in that control group, but they had a certain amount of commands.
Plausible deniability.
Yeah, but anyway.
So what if you're texting your drug dealer while you're drinking and driving? I mean,
a lot of drug dealers don't use. So
there was
trying to run the books.
Well,
Sorry.
A lot of the people that took all 3 doses of marijuana aced the test. And it shocked a lot of the cops that the only thing they saw that was consistent was the marijuana consumers started driving slower the more stoned they got. Now, I could have told you that. You know? But anyway, the other interesting thing was when the law enforcement officers went into this tent to where they were trained by the experts on the medical marijuana so that they would know how much is being consumed, what it tested out as far as potency on THC.
Right.
That's the bad boy stuff that, makes you
wacky. So they can experience the effect and know what the dosage was.
And they get a cause and effect here. Okay, this much causes this much. And, it's all in a controlled environment. And so,
like your parents don't know already.
And so, some friends of mine who were there, in fact, one guy who really made this happen, Nathan Reese, owns a dispensary, Sweet Leaf, up in Dewey and Bartlesville, 2 locations. He is a former police chief who now owns a dispensary. Yeah, he went to the dark side. So anyway,
the green side.
Well, he has some real significant health issues. There is private business, but so that made him a believer in what cannabis can do. And he's, so anyway, he said a bunch of the people that showed up there to do the marijuana portion, they were all licensed patients, legal to consume.
Right.
They're all in the tent having a good time, chatting.
Legal.
And,
they were legal.
Well, yeah, and they were. And, they were like holding off.
That piece of paper is special.
So, Anyway, and then the police officers come in, and it just killed the tone.
Oh yeah.
Because all of a sudden it was like, oh, the cops.
Oh, yeah.
So, because if you've been a patient before it was legal to be a patient, you know, you had this apprehension.
Well, and cops famously have attitudes about it.
Oh, they do.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
They have a visceral hatred of the demon plant and all of that,
Yeah.
and those who might consume it.
There is a
And it's
stigma.
taught.
Yeah,
It's
And-
taught. It's
yeah.
trained this way.
And so the first cop comes in. He says, "Well, I guess I better learn about this cannabis crack." Cannabis crack, yeah, like crack is cannabis, cannabis is crack, right?
How much
you
is
know?
that?
Yeah, and but you know, and they all kind of let it slip, and then he used that term again, and finally, you know, the gal that was providing it was with the dispensary, was explaining cannabis and crack are as far apart as you get. Okay, crack is more like cocaine or meth, you know, right? So anyway, and as things went on, it just changed the whole tone when they started seeing how little they were impaired from consuming the marijuana. It really opened the eyes of officers. And then they had a trainer there, because keep in mind, you had the guy training on how to prove impairment, and he's telling these other officers, he said, now just because he did that does not mean that he's legally impaired. And he's trying to convince these officers, don't go quickly jumping to impairment the first time they trip doing a field sobriety test.
Right.
You know, in fact, this
And those field sobriety tests are questionable at
They are.
best because they're made. You could be completely sober and you can't get
Yeah.
through it.
When the officer's tag says, "Well, Linda, you know you're in trouble."
the first this former police chief who now owns a dispensary, he was one of the patients there. Well, due to his health concerns, his leg was shaking. Well, crap, his leg was probably shaking when he went to bed last night, shaking when he woke up this morning. And just because someone's shaking doesn't mean, oh, it's because you consumed an illegal substance and you are now impaired.
Yeah, you ever been pulled over and the cop asks you, "What are you so nervous
Right.
for?" I just got pulled over.
So,
What the
you know,
heck?
You're standing here with a
Yeah,
gun and
I am
might shoot
literally-
me.
Yeah.
I am literally nervous. Exactly.
So, you know, you've got to...
And you're going to extort a bunch of money for
Oh,
from
well,
people
I
who
don't
know
care
nothing.
about that yet.
Well, yeah, and because it's a drug crime...
Get out of here.
Because it's a drug crime now, all of a sudden asset forfeiture kicks in and you take their car, their money, everything.
Yeah,
Well, they'll
yeah.
do that and a felony and this and that. And
Yeah.
that's the thing.
That's why they're nervous.
Yeah.
Yes, well, that's why. As Nathan was writing about that the cops and the cannabis people kind of cleared out and waited to see how the cops dealt with things
Yeah.
because they didn't want to.
Yeah.
There's a nervous tension there that has been built up through the years, and rightly so.
Now, a
Yes.
couple of my friends over there, Chris Moe, who actually lives just outside Muskogee in the county over by Taft,
Okay.
you know, yeah, he's got a deep set apprehension because he has been busted.
Yeah.
You know, and he's been a long-term pain management patient. He said it was the best day ever. Norma Sapp, who's been the apostle of, you know, decriminalizing marijuana in
Right.
Oklahoma.
She's really standing
She
up there on
said, "This is my best day ever."
Right.
I mean, it was such a fantastic day because what you saw happening, you can't really point a finger at it, but you could tell attitudes were changing.
Right.
And all of a sudden, you know, when these patients had a chance to educate law enforcement to doing their job better.
Right.
And the cops were very open to them.
Right.
You know, and so that's why they said, we've got to take this on the road. So I'm going to be following this story. I hope to be telling you about more of these events as we go around the state and do them. So,
And I'm hoping that we as 3D Politics maybe can
yeah.
join in on some of these things. I know I want, as constitutional grounds, I would love to be a part of this and be able to go out and explain to these officers how they need to approach it from a constitutional
Yeah, I
perspective.
love that.
And then combine that with then look, and you know, because you have what they are required to do and think. They actually don't have the right to assume evil upon the citizenry and assume that because you have some weed in a baggie in your pocket, that makes you a criminal. They do not have that right. They don't have the right to go there as police. But they also need to be shown that there is nothing there to it.
Yeah.
So both have to happen.
Yeah.
Because right now the police are acting as criminals.
Yeah.
As we were talking earlier, they need to be treated as the criminals they are. But at the same time, they also need to be rehabbed and shown that there's nothing to this, and they've been fed a lie.
We have
a bunch of lies.
We have to end the piracy that is asset forfeiture.
Oh,
It is piracy.
We could just do
pure
a
and
show
simple.
on that. Yeah.
And we need to end the political prison, the prisoning of political prisoners, because that's what you have when you see cops arresting people for gun and drug crimes. Okay, unless they're discharging the weapon or waving it around dangerously at other people, you do not have a crime.
Sure.
And so what you have, but you have people in prison for this.
Right.
They are political prisoners for not having submitted to the state and their edicts on what is proper behavior